The massive ship hung in space like a sleeping giant, its dark hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Captain James Walker stood at the observation deck of his shuttle, his weathered face showing no emotion as they approached the vessel. This was humanity's big moment, their first major gift from the stellar Concordat after 50 years of limited contact. But something about it made his stomach turn. Quite a sight, isn't it? Chief Engineer Maria Torres floated up beside him. Her dark eyes scanned the ancient battleship with professional interest. 2 miles long, half a mile wide. Makes our biggest ships look like toys. Walker nodded slowly. And they just happened to find it drifting in deep space, decided to give it to us out of the kindness of their hearts. The sarcasm in his voice wasn't lost on Torres. You don't trust them either. She pulled up a tablet, showing preliminary scans of the vessel. Trust is earned, Maria. In 50 years, they've given us nothing but scraps of outdated tech and vague warnings about developing too quickly. Now suddenly they're handing us a battleship. He shook his head. Something's wrong. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. Walker led his team through the airlock. 12 of Earth's best engineers and scientists, handpicked for this mission. The ship's interior was dark, illuminated only by their suits' lights. The air was stale but breathable, according to their instruments. Main engineering should be 3 decks down, Torres said, consulting her map. The Concordat had provided basic schematics, claiming they were translated from the original builder's databanks. We'll need to get power running before we can do a proper survey. Walker split the team into 3 groups. He went with Torres and Dr. Tom Reed, their power systems specialist. The corridors were massive, clearly built for beings larger than humans. Their footsteps echoed off metal floors that hadn't felt movement in centuries. Look at this craftsmanship, Reed whispered, running his hand along a wall panel. This isn't just advanced, it's elegant. Whoever built this ship, they were artists as well as engineers. They reached main engineering after 20 minutes of careful navigation. The chamber was enormous, dominated by what seemed to be the main power core, a towering cylinder of dark metal and crystal, reaching up through several decks. Torres immediately went to work, setting up portable lights and scanning equipment. This is incredible. She studied her readings with growing excitement. The power core uses principles we've only theorized about. Quantum energy manipulation at a scale we couldn't even imagine. Can we get it running? Walker asked, keeping his voice neutral despite the growing unease in his gut. With time, yes. But Torres frowned at her scanner. That's odd. What is it? These connections here. She pointed to a series of crystalline tubes running from the core. They're routed in a way that makes no sense. It's like someone deliberately created feedback loops in the power distribution system. Reed moved closer, his own scanner whirring. She's right. Look at these junctions. They're modified. Recently, he looked up at Walker. Someone's been tampering with this ship's systems. Walker's communication unit crackled. Captain, this is Team 2. We found something in the computer core you need to see. On our way. Team 3. Report to main engineering and assist Chief Torres. Walker and Reed made their way to the computer core. 6 decks up, they found Lisa Park, their systems analyst, staring at streams of alien code on her portable display. What am I looking at, Park? Sabotage, sir. Elegant, careful sabotage. Her fingers flew over the keys. The ship's original operating systems have been modified. There are hidden commands buried in the startup sequences, things that would only activate once we got the power running. Walker felt cold sweat on his back, despite his suit's temperature control. Can you tell what these commands would do? Not yet. They're incredibly complex, and they're designed to look like normal system functions. But they're wrong. Like someone wrote them to be deliberately misunderstood. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. More evidence of tampering emerged with every deck they explored. The weapons systems, the shields, even the life support, all had been subtly modified. The Concordat's gift was looking more like a Trojan horse with every passing hour. Walker gathered his team in what appeared to be the ship's main briefing room. The portable lights cast long shadows as they shared their findings. The picture that emerged was disturbing. They wanted us to think we'd gotten lucky, Torres explained, showing diagrams on the main display. Find this amazing ship, get it running, maybe learn some new technology. But look here. She highlighted the modified systems. Once we powered up the main core, these feedback loops would create a cascade effect. The quantum energy wouldn't just destroy the ship, it would tear a hole in space-time. Half the solar system would be gone before anyone knew what happened. And the Concordat would express their deepest regrets, Walker added grimly. Such a tragedy, the humans trying to operate technology they weren't ready for. Should have listened to our warnings about developing too quickly. What do we do? Reed asked. If we report this, they'll know we found out. They might try something else, something worse. Walker stood silent for a long moment, looking at the diagrams. The Concordat had underestimated humanity in the worst possible way. They thought humans would be so excited by their gift that they'd rush to power it up, never checking thoroughly enough to find the subtle traps woven throughout its systems. We do exactly what they expect, he said finally. We act grateful. We take our time studying the ship, telling them we want to be careful and thorough. And meanwhile, he looked at Torres. How well do you understand that quantum core? A slow smile spread across Torres's face, well enough to know it's not just a weapon. The Concordat didn't build this ship. They found it, just like they said. And I don't think they understand half of what it can really do. Then that's our advantage. Walker looked around at his team. They handed us this ship thinking it would be our destruction. Instead, we're going to learn everything about it. Every system, every circuit, every line of code. And when we're done, we'll have something they don't expect. Torres finished. Knowledge they don't have, about technology they don't fully understand. Walker nodded. Send word back to Earth. Tell them we've begun preliminary surveys. Everything looks promising. Tell them we'll need at least 3 months for a proper study before attempting to power up the main systems. He smiled grimly. Meanwhile, we have work to do. They thought they were handing us a death trap. Let's see how they like it when their trap becomes our key to the stars. The team broke up, heading back to their assigned areas with renewed purpose. Walker remained in the briefing room, staring at the technical diagrams. 50 years of patronizing treatment, of being handed obsolete technology like treats to a pet. The Concordat thought they were dealing with children, too naive to check their gifts for poison. That mistake was going to cost them dearly. 3 months into the restoration project, the ancient battleship had become a hive of activity. Teams of engineers and scientists worked around the clock, their presence carefully hidden from the Concordat's regular check-ins. In the ship's vast engineering section, Maria Torres hadn't slept properly in days. She sat surrounded by holographic displays, each showing different aspects of the quantum core's internal workings. You need to see this, Captain, she called out as Walker entered the room. Dark circles under her eyes matched his own, but excitement filled her voice. Remember those feedback loops we found? They're not just meant to overload the core. Look at this pattern. Walker leaned over her shoulder, studying the complex energy diagrams. After 3 months of intensive study, he'd learned enough to follow the basics. They're trying to create some kind of reaction. Not just any reaction. Torres pulled up another display. When the core overloads, it wouldn't just explode. It would create a cascading quantum effect that would spread through space. The blast would keep growing, feeding on itself. They meant to take out the whole solar system, maybe even beyond. Walker's face hardened. They really wanted to make sure nothing survived. No evidence, no witnesses. But that's not even the worst part. Torres brought up new calculations. The Concordat didn't design this trap. They copied it. These modifications, they're clumsy, like someone trying to copy advanced technology they don't fully understand. What do you mean? The original quantum core. Torres's eyes lit up with professional admiration. It's a work of art. The species that built this ship had mastered energy manipulation at a level we can barely comprehend. But the Concordat's modifications, they're like a child playing with their parents' tools. They knew enough to make it destructive, but they missed so much. A new voice joined the conversation. She's right. Dr. Robert Nash, their quantum physicist, walked in carrying fresh data tablets. His usual neat appearance had given way to rumpled clothes and messy hair. We've been studying the original core designs. This ship wasn't meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be something far more impressive. Nash spread his tablets across a workbench, showing complex equations and energy patterns. The quantum core was designed to manipulate space-time itself, not just for faster-than-light travel, but for precise control over quantum fields. The original builders could probably reshape reality at will. Walker looked between them. And the Concordat doesn't understand this. They understand enough to be dangerous, Torres said. But no, they don't see the full picture. They found this ship, figured out how to make it into a bomb, and thought that was its greatest potential. She laughed bitterly. It's like finding a supercomputer and using it as a paperweight. The captain was silent for a long moment, processing this information. Can we use this? Turn their trap against them? Nash nodded slowly. We think so. Maria and I have been working on something. The Concordat expects us to power up the core according to their modified protocols. But if we bypass their changes, use the original systems the way they were meant to be used. Show me. The next hour was filled with technical explanations. Walker listened carefully as his experts laid out their plan. The quantum core could be activated safely, but it would take precise timing and perfect execution. One mistake, and the Concordat's trap would spring exactly as intended. The real question, Torres said finally, is what we do once we have control of the core. Its power could revolutionize human civilization overnight. But the Concordat would never let that happen, Walker finished. They'd rather destroy us than see us advance that quickly. He walked to the enormous windows overlooking Earth below. How long until they expect us to attempt activation? Their ambassador has been pushing for a test next week, Nash said. They're getting impatient. I think they're worried we might find something if we study it too long. A bit late for that worry. Walker turned back to his team. How many people know the full extent of what we've discovered? Just the core team. Maybe 20 people total. We've kept everything compartmentalized, just like you ordered. Walker nodded. Good, because what I'm about to propose borders on treason. He took a deep breath. We're going to power up the core, but not the way they expect, and not when they expect it. And when we do, he smiled grimly. We're going to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. While the official engineering teams made a show of running standard tests, Torres and Nash led a secret group in preparing the quantum core for its true awakening. They worked in shifts, always keeping some activity visible for the Concordat's watching eyes, while the real work happened hidden from view. Walker coordinated with Earth's Defense Command, laying groundwork for what would come next. If they succeeded, humanity would leap forward centuries in technological development overnight. If they failed, there might not be an Earth left to defend. The night before their planned activation, Walker found Torres alone in the engineering bay. She sat staring at the quantum core, its crystalline structure glowing faintly in the dim light. Having doubts, he asked. She shook her head. The opposite. I've never been more certain about anything in my life. This ship, it's not just technology, Captain. It's art. Poetry written in quantum fields and crystalline matrices. The beings who built it. She touched the core gently. They must have been incredible. And now their legacy falls to us, Walker said quietly. Not to the Concordat, who would use it for destruction, but to humans who spent 3 months taking apart every system, learning every detail, refusing to take anything at face value. It's almost funny, Torres said. They thought our caution, our paranoia, would be our weakness, that we'd waste so much time studying their gift that we'd never see its true potential. Instead, it was our salvation. Walker checked his watch. Get some sleep, Maria. Tomorrow, we show the Concordat exactly what happens when you hand humans a puzzle and expect them not to solve it. Torres stood, stretching tired muscles. You know they'll never forgive us for this. No, Walker agreed. But after tomorrow, they'll never underestimate us again. As they left the engineering bay, the quantum core pulsed quietly in the darkness. Tomorrow, it would either destroy everything they held dear, or become humanity's key to the stars. The choice had been made. The trap had been dismantled, understood, and transformed. Tomorrow, the Concordat would learn that some species are too clever to be trapped, and too dangerous to be betrayed. The day of reckoning arrived with deceptive calm. The ancient battleship floated silently above Earth, its dark hull reflecting the first rays of sunrise. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but peaceful. Teams of engineers rushed through final preparations while trying to appear unhurried to the watching Concordat observers. In the main control room, Walker stood before the ship's massive view screens. 6 Concordat representatives hovered nearby, their tall, slender forms radiating barely concealed anticipation. Their spokesman, who called himself the Observer, stepped forward. We trust you have thoroughly examined all systems. The Observer's translated voice carried a note of false concern. We wouldn't want any accidents during the activation sequence. Walker met the alien's gaze steadily. We've been very thorough. My team has checked every system 3 times over. He didn't mention which checks they'd actually performed, or what they'd found. We're ready to begin power-up procedures. In engineering, Torres and Nash worked with practiced precision. Their movements, rehearsed countless times in secret, appeared natural and unrehearsed. The quantum core hummed softly as preliminary power began flowing through its circuits. Initial power readings normal, Torres announced over the comm. Beginning Stage 1 activation. The observer moved closer to the main display. Remember, Captain, you must follow the activation sequence exactly as we provided. The original builder's systems are very particular. Don't worry, Walker replied calmly. We'll follow the sequence to the letter. It wasn't even a lie. They just weren't using the sequence the Concordat had given them. Deep in the ship's computer core, hidden programs written over the past 3 months waited silently. The Concordat's sabotage was still there, but now it was surrounded by layers of human code, ready to redirect and contain the coming energy surge. Stage 1 complete, Torres reported. Moving to Stage 2. Power levels at 15% and rising. The Concordat representatives moved restlessly, their long fingers twitching. Walker watched them from the corner of his eye. They were nervous, but not worried. Yet, everything appeared to be going according to their plan. Stage 2 complete. Power levels at 30%. Nash's voice came over a private channel in Walker's earpiece, ready with the quantum field modifications. They won't see it until it's too late. Walker gave no sign he'd heard, but he shifted his weight slightly. The movement was a signal to his hidden security teams. If anything went wrong, if the Concordat representatives realized what was really happening, they needed to be contained immediately. Power levels at 50%. Beginning Stage 3. The quantum core's hum rose to a deeper pitch. Energy readings climbed steadily on the main display. The observer's fingers danced over his own monitoring device, checking the readings against their expectations. 60%, 70%. This was the crucial moment. In the Concordat's sabotaged sequence, this was when the feedback loops would begin to form, starting the cascade that would destroy everything. But Torres and Nash had spent months preparing for this moment. Energy spike detected. The observer's voice carried fake alarm. Captain, you must shut down immediately. The core is becoming unstable. Walker turned to him slowly. Is it? Our readings show everything within expected parameters. The observer's translator crackled with genuine surprise. But the energy patterns, this is impossible. Interesting choice of words. Walker's voice was cold. About as impossible as finding a derelict battleship and turning it into a death trap. The alien's large eyes widened. Behind him, the other representatives began moving toward the door, only to find their way blocked by Walker's security team. You knew. It wasn't a question. We knew from the first day. Walker turned back to the main display. Did you really think we wouldn't check? That we'd just blindly trust your gift without taking it apart piece by piece? 80% power, Torres reported. Quantum field stabilizing. No sign of cascade formation. The observer's composure cracked. You don't understand what you're doing. That ship's power could tear reality apart. No, Walker corrected him. We understand exactly what we're doing. Better than you do, actually. You found this ship, learned enough to turn it into a weapon, and thought that was all it could be. But he smiled. We learned what it was really built for. 90% power, quantum field fully contained. Torres's voice carried fierce triumph. Ready for final stage. The observer lunged for his communication device, but Walker was faster. A quick gesture, and the security team had all 6 aliens restrained. I wouldn't bother calling for help, Walker said quietly. Your ships won't be able to communicate through the quantum field we're generating. Actually, they won't be able to do much of anything for the next few hours. On the main display, the power readings hit 100%. The quantum core's hum changed to a pure crystal tone that seemed to vibrate through reality itself. Around the ship, space began to ripple like water. Quantum field stable. All systems responding. Torres's voice was jubilant. It works exactly like we thought. The original builders, they weren't trying to create a weapon. This ship can manipulate space-time itself. The observer had gone very still. You have no idea what forces you're playing with. Actually, Nash cut in over the comm. We do. We spent 3 months studying every circuit, every crystal, every line of code. While you watched us and waited for us to walk into your trap, we were learning things you never bothered to understand. Walker stepped closer to the observer. You wanted to destroy us because we were developing too quickly, because we might someday become a threat to your power. So you gave us this ship, thinking we'd be too excited, too grateful, too naive to look carefully at your gift. Through the view screen, they could see the Concordat ships floating helplessly, caught in the quantum field's effect. Their weapons were useless, their engines dead, their communications silenced. That was your mistake, Walker continued. Not the attempt to destroy us. We're almost used to that from older species by now. No, your mistake was thinking we wouldn't check inside the gift horse's mouth. Thinking we'd act like children with a new toy instead of scientists with a new discovery. Power stable at 100%, Torres reported. All systems nominal. The quantum field extends 12 light minutes in all directions. Every Concordat ship in the solar system is contained. Walker looked at the observer. Now shall we discuss the future? A future where humanity isn't your pet project or your potential victim, but your equal. Because right now, we're the ones who understand how this ship really works. We're the ones who can control its power. The observer's large eyes fixed on Walker. You would blackmail us. No, Walker replied. We're going to negotiate. As equals. And you're going to agree. Because now you know what happens when you underestimate humanity. When you mistake caution for weakness and paranoia for lack of vision. The quantum core's pure tone filled the ship, a testament to humanity's triumph over betrayal. They had turned the Concordat's trap into a key to the stars, their intended execution into a demonstration of power. And now finally, the real work could begin. The next 48 hours changed everything. While the Concordat ships hung powerless in space, trapped in the quantum field, humanity prepared for its first steps into a larger universe. In the ancient battleship's command center, Walker coordinated with Earth's leaders, while Torres and Nash explored the true limits of their new understanding. "The quantum field is stable," Torres reported, her fingers dancing over the crystalline controls. "We can extend it even further if needed. Their reinforcements won't be able to enter the solar system without being caught in the effect." The observer and his fellow representatives remained under guard, watching helplessly as humans mastered technology their own people had never fully understood. Walker noticed how their attitude had shifted from condescending concern to genuine fear. "Your people will retaliate," the observer said quietly. "The Concordat has ruled space for 10,000 years. We will not simply accept this humiliation." Walker turned from his displays. "Humiliation? Is that what you think this is about?" He walked closer to the alien diplomat. "This isn't about humiliating you. This is about survival. You tried to murder our entire species, and now you're angry that we didn't walk quietly into your trap." Nash entered the command center, carrying new data readings. "Captain, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the original builder's database. The quantum core. It's not just a drive system or a weapon. It's a key to understanding the fundamental nature of space-time." The observer's large eyes widened. "You can read the builder's language." "We had 3 months to work on it," Nash replied with a shrug. "Amazing what humans can do when we're properly motivated. When someone tries to kill us, for instance." Walker studied the new data. "What are we looking at, exactly?" "The builders didn't just master quantum mechanics. They transcended it. This ship can create stable wormholes, manipulate gravity, even alter the flow of time itself. And that's just what we've discovered so far." A message flashed on the main screen. The Concordat's Central Council was demanding to speak with their representatives. Walker looked at the observer. "Your leaders are probably wondering why their clever trap hasn't sprung yet." He nodded to a communications officer. "Put them through. Let's show them exactly what they've accomplished with their attempted genocide." The screen filled with the image of the Concordat Council, 7 tall, elegant aliens seated in what looked like a grand chamber. Their spokesman leaned forward, voice crackling through the translator. "Release our ships immediately," the council leader demanded. "This act of aggression will not be tolerated." Walker laughed, a sound without humor. "Aggression? That's rich, coming from the people who just tried to wipe out our entire solar system. Or did you think we wouldn't figure out what this ship was really meant to do?" The council leader's composure slipped slightly. "We don't know what lies your military has fabricated." "Stop." Walker's voice cut through the excuses. "We found your sabotage. We understood your trap. And then we did what humans do best. We learned, we adapted, and we turned your weapon into something far more interesting." Torres stepped forward, bringing up technical displays. "Your modifications to the quantum core were crude," she said, professional disdain clear in her voice. "You understood enough to create a destructive cascade, but you never bothered to understand what the technology was actually designed for." The council chamber erupted in angry muttering. The leader raised a hand for silence. "You claim to understand technology that has baffled our best scientists for centuries." "Claim?" Nash tapped a control, and suddenly the council chamber's gravity reversed. The council members floated from their seats, their dignity shattered as they flailed in zero gravity. Another tap, and they crashed back down. "That was a tiny fraction of what this ship can do," Nash said calmly. "Want to see what happens when we really start exploring its capabilities?" Walker held up a hand, and Nash stepped back. "Here's what's going to happen." Walker addressed the council. "First, you're going to admit what you tried to do. Not to us. We already know. But to your own people and to the other species you claim to protect. You cannot possibly expect." The leader began. "Second," Walker continued as if there had been no interruption, "you're going to acknowledge humanity as equals. No more treating us like children who need to be controlled. No more guidance about developing too quickly." Torres brought up new displays, showing the quantum field's effect spreading through the solar system. "We can maintain this field indefinitely," she explained. "None of your ships can enter or leave. Your communications can't penetrate it. You're cut off from your entire empire." "This is impossible," one of the council members whispered. "The power requirements alone." "The power requirements are trivial for this ship's systems," Nash corrected. "Your scientists never figured that out because they were too busy trying to turn it into a bomb. We, on the other hand, spent 3 months studying every circuit, every crystal, every line of code." Walker stepped closer to the screen. "You have 2 hours to make your decision. Either you start being honest with everyone, including yourselves, or we'll demonstrate just how much we've learned about this ship's capabilities. And trust me, what we did to your gravity was just a party trick compared to what we could do." The council leader's face had gone pale. 2 hours? You cannot expect us to. 1 hour and 59 minutes now, Walker interrupted. "I suggest you spend it wisely." He cut the transmission. The observer watched this exchange with a mix of horror and fascination. "You would really risk war with the Concordat?" "You already started that war," Walker replied. "When you gave us this ship, when you tried to murder our entire species, you made this conflict inevitable. The only question was whether we'd die in ignorance or learn enough to fight back." Torres's console beeped. More Concordat ships approaching the solar system. 3 fleets, heavily armed. "Let them come," Walker said calmly. "The field will catch them just like the others. And every ship we catch is another demonstration of just how badly their leaders miscalculated." The observer studied Walker's face. "You're enjoying this." "No," Walker corrected him. "I'm not enjoying any of it. But I am going to make absolutely sure that no one ever tries something like this again. You wanted to keep humanity weak, controlled, dependent on your guidance. Instead, you handed us the key to understanding the universe itself." Nash looked up from his readings. 1 hour and 45 minutes until the council's deadline. "Want to bet on whether they'll make the smart choice?" Walker watched the displays showing dozens of helpless Concordat ships floating in space. "They'll make the only choice they can. Because now they know what happens when you hand humans a trap and expect us not to study it down to the last atom." The quantum core hummed its crystal tone through the ship, a reminder of just how thoroughly humanity's supposed executioner had become their salvation. The timer counted down while the Concordat leaders faced the consequences of their greatest mistake: underestimating humanity's capacity to learn, adapt, and overcome. The Concordat Council made their decision with 7 minutes to spare. Their public broadcast reached every corner of known space, carefully worded but clear in its meaning. They admitted to errors in judgment regarding humanity's development, acknowledged their mishandling of ancient technology, and recognized Earth as a full and equal member of the galactic community. Walker watched the broadcast from the ancient battleship's command center, Torres and Nash at his side. The observer and his fellow representatives stood under guard, their usual dignified posture replaced by slumped shoulders and lowered heads. "Not quite a full confession," Nash noted, "but enough to make everyone ask questions. Questions they won't be able to avoid answering," Torres added. "Especially once other species start wondering what made the mighty Concordat back down so quickly." Walker nodded to his communications officer. "Release the quantum field. Let their ships go." He turned to the observer. "Your vessels are free to leave. I suggest you use this time to reconsider how you treat lesser species." The observer moved toward the exit but paused. "You could have destroyed us. Used this ship's power to tear our worlds apart. Why didn't you?" "Because we're not you," Walker replied simply. "We don't solve our problems by trying to erase them." Speaking of which, he brought up a new display, showing the quantum core's readings. "Dr. Nash, show them what we actually learned to do with their trap." Nash's fingers danced over the controls. The ship hummed with power, but differently now. Not the threatening crystal tone of before, but a deeper, almost musical sound. Outside the view screens, space itself began to ripple. "What you're seeing," Nash explained, unable to hide his excitement, is what this ship was actually built for. We're not tearing space apart. We're reshaping it, creating paths where none existed. The ripples coalesced into something impossible, a stable gateway through space itself. Through the portal, they could see a star system that should have been hundreds of light years away. A transportation network, Torres said proudly. The original builders created this ship to connect the galaxy, not destroy it. All that power you tried to use as a weapon. It was meant to bring people together, not tear them apart. The observer stared at the portal. Our scientists spent centuries studying this ship. How did you discover this in 3 months? Because we had to, Walker said. Because you gave us no choice but to understand every detail of this ship or die. Necessity made us look closer, work harder, think beyond the obvious. He smiled slightly. Also, we didn't assume we already knew everything. That helped. The portal shimmered, stable and beautiful. Through it, they could see Concordat ships approaching cautiously, their sensors no doubt going crazy trying to understand what they were seeing. This is just the beginning, Nash said. The builder's database. It's not just technical information. It's their history, their philosophy, their understanding of the universe itself. They didn't build weapons. They built tools to bring civilization together. Torres brought up more displays. We've barely scratched the surface of what this ship can do. Stable wormholes, gravity manipulation, even limited time field control. But it's all designed to connect, to build, to explore. You looked at this masterpiece of engineering and saw only a way to destroy. We looked at it and saw the future. The observer's large eyes blinked slowly. The Council will never accept this level of advancement. They'll try to stop you, contain you. They can try, Walker agreed. But I don't think they'll succeed. Because now every species in the galaxy is going to be asking questions about the Concordats' guidance, about their control of advanced technology, about their treatment of lesser species. He gestured to the portal. And we'll be here, showing everyone what's possible when you stop thinking about power and start thinking about potential. One by one, the Concordat representatives were escorted to their ships. As the observer left, he turned one last time to Walker. You've changed everything. The galaxy won't be the same after this. That was your doing, not ours, Walker replied. You handed us what you thought was our destruction and forced us to understand it completely just to survive. Everything that happens next, that's on you. After the Concordat ships departed, Walker stood with his team watching the portal shimmer. Beyond it lay not just distant stars, but a future no one had expected 6 months ago. A future where humanity didn't just survive an attempted genocide, but emerged stronger, wiser, and with the keys to the galaxy in their hands. What do we do now? Torres asked softly. Walker studied the portal, thinking of all the worlds that lay beyond it, all the species who'd lived under the Concordats' guidance for so long. Now we do what humans have always done best. We explore, we learn, we build. He smiled, and we make very, very sure that no one ever mistakes us for helpless children again. And the Concordat? Nash asked. They'll adapt or they'll fade away, Walker said. But they'll never forget what happened here, how their perfect trap became humanity's stepping stone to the stars, how their attempt to destroy us only made us stronger. The ancient battleship hummed with power, not the destructive force its would-be killers had intended, but the pure energy of creation and connection its original builders had designed. Humanity had been handed a deathtrap and turned it into a doorway to the future. As the first human ships began moving through the portal, Walker thought about the irony of it all. The Concordat had feared humanity's rapid development, their quick adoption of new ideas, their constant drive to understand and improve. Those very traits, the ones that had marked them for destruction, had instead ensured their survival and triumph. They had been handed a deathtrap. They had turned it into hope. And now, standing at the threshold of a new age, Humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what happened when you underestimated their determination to survive, to understand, and to grow. The future was waiting. And this time, humanity would meet it on their own terms.